objective of the world of literature to the blind and visually impaired, the South African Library for the Blind celebrated this year's National Library Week in March with an interactive showcase of the variety of services available for the visually impaired, engaging learners with spelling games, fun, and a reading competition, while presenting all the wonderful free services available from the library. Now, joining us this week, of course, for conversation in studio is the South African Library for the Blind Director Francois Hendrikz. And remember, you can be part of our conversation by giving us a call on 011-447-1742 or 011-447-2570. And your comments are also welcome on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Good morning to you, Francois, and thanks for joining us this morning. Now, firstly, just tell us about the work of the South African Library for the Blind. What exactly, what's the scope? What do you guys do there?
Well, the South African Library for the Blind is a national institution. We render services across South Africa. We have more than 6,400 members. We're not only a library, but also a production house of accessible reading material. And that goes for audio, braille, and also tactile picture books for preschool children that's blind, to present the world of pictures to blind children. So on the one hand, we produce accessible material, and on the other hand, we render services to the members in terms of distribution of the audio and the braille books. And that we've been doing for the past almost 100 years, because it started in Grahamstown as a community initiative. And here we are, almost 100 years later, as a national library.
Okay, so when you say that you're partly a production, it's based in Grahamstown, how do people who are across the country access some of your services?
Yeah. You see, we work very closely with the South African Post Office. So although we are based in the Eastern Cape, Grahamstown, we always say as long as you live close to a post office, we will be able to distribute our material. Of course, currently we have some challenges with the postal distribution, with the postal strikes and the closing down of post offices, and that makes distribution of our material difficult. But we have other means of distributing, and it's a free service that the post office is providing to our members, so they can send books back to us and we send it to them free of charge.
Okay, so now if I run a small community library, whether it's a government library or I run a service where I give access to reading material. So do I subscribe and become a member of SALB, or how does it work?
We have two options. You can become a member at the library. The documentation is on our website. There's a whole service is obviously free, even the reading devices that blind people need to read. And then they become a member. But they can also go to some of the local municipality libraries. Now, we have a system called the mini library system in South Africa. There's currently about 87 of them, where we make public libraries more accessible for blind people. Because a public library is a community structure, and blind people need to use that. So what we've done in the past, and currently is busy in partnership with the provinces and municipalities, is to put technology there, accessible assistive devices, and then obviously content. And then they can go to those public libraries in all the 9 provinces currently, except for Limpopo and Gauteng. We are still working with them. And then they can become a member of their local library, and then because we keep supporting that library in terms of content. Because access to content is a big issue for public libraries and blind people. Because only 7% of what is published internationally is available to blind people.
To blind people, yeah. Okay, so let's say that the idea is to make reading a shared activity and to make it more accessible to people who are visually impaired. And then it's already a challenge to just encourage regular South Africans to go get a book and start reading and improve, levels of literacy in our country, etc. There's already a challenge with being visually impaired to access that material. Is it material specifically written for people who are blind, or do you take other material and then you translate it to Braille so that they can be accessible? What's the process there?
Well, it's quite a comprehensive and a complex process, but there's no specific material that's written for blind people. blind people have the same needs and information needs as sighted people. There's no difference. The only difference is they can't see. So they're interested in the latest bestsellers. They're interested in today's news. They want to read in the Bona and the You magazine,
and yes,
all of those things
yeah.
we provide to our members. So we need to get the content from the publishers. We have a very good relationship with the South African publishers. We obviously have to comply to copyright legislation. They give us the copyright freedom to convert that material into audio and braille. But where a manuscript is received by a publisher and then they go through processes of publishing that book, we use the finalized book as our source and convert that into braille and audio. So for a normal book, a print copy that you can buy at any bookstore, for a narrator it takes up to 3 months for us to get that book in an audio format, and the same for braille. And it goes through for editing, proofreading, quality control, because quality is very important to blind people as well.
Okay, so I want to now start talking to a parent who might be living in the most remote parts of the country, and they have a child who's blind, and they don't know exactly how to go about to start to get them interested in reading and having access to the material versus what's happening at school academically versus continuous encouragement of reading at home. How do they go about?
That's one of the big challenges, is the people not knowing where to go, especially parents. My proposal would be that they go to their public library. At least the public library can put them in contact with us. If we can't help, we can always put them in contact with the Department of Basic Education, because there are at least 24 schools for the blind in South Africa. That's nowhere near enough schools for the number of blind children. According to the World Blind Union, less than 10% of children in developing countries access schools. So in South Africa, that's exactly the same situation. There's far more than need for more 24 schools in South Africa. So to put them up with a public library and the local structures, that is how we can assist the parents in one way or the other.
Okay, so during one of the things that I came to realize is that when mathematics at school, it's totally different from like with Braille versus how it's done. I don't know if I'm phrasing it correctly. Just talk to us about that.
No, Braille is a reading and a writing system like what we use as normal sighted people as well. We use the ABC.
Yes.
All that is different for blind people is that ABC is translated in a dot system.
Okay.
So mathematics, even musical scores, everything is available in Braille for blind people. But of course, it's a very complicated thing to learn. If you start from school, young age, that's not a problem. But unfortunately, visual impairment comes with age. And as you grow older, your sensitivity in your fingertips diminishes. And then it becomes incredibly difficult to learn through touch. But you can still, I mean, sighted people can read through just seeing the dots. Blind people obviously don't have that choice. But it needs to be learned from school level. So there's also a misunderstanding that all blind people can read and understand Braille. It is possible to learn it, but it takes quite a time. Okay.
All right. So there's also the World Health Organization says there's 246 million people worldwide. In South Africa, 642 who have low vision and are blind. Why do you think there's still, lack of understanding of dealing with challenges around that people who are visually impaired face? And how can we overcome that?
You see, one of the big challenges, and that goes actually for all people with disabilities, is accessibility. And that means for people in wheelchairs, hearing aids, reading devices. If they don't have assistive devices one way or the other, they can't be part of a community and a structure. It becomes very difficult, so they are isolated.
How expensive or accessible or are these devices? Because
no, they are. I mean, from the blind point of view, the reading devices we provide to our members, that is what I would call a normal CD player. We have to import those because that technologies are very specialized, and it costs us around 5,000 Rand a unit. Now we provide that for free because we are partially funded by the Department of Arts and Culture, but it is expensive. All assistive devices for blind people, whether it's a wheelchair or anything, And unfortunately, people with disabilities are unemployed, the majority of them. So there's just no money for them to buy these assistive devices. So they need assistance either through structures like the library or the local departments that can assist them one way or the other.
Okay. So to access the work of the South African Library for the Blind, so use your local library, that's what you said.
That's what I'm saying. And if they don't know it, they can contact the library. We have a website, we are on Facebook, our numbers and contact details are there.